Nerds.
Hey, nerds.
So, we are here, dear nerds, video and audio, and we've had a hard time getting all these to sync up. I think we're finding a setup here that might work semi-long term, with iPad doing the video separately from us recording audio on the PC, and then later we can hopefully sync it up. So yeah, we're getting there. One piece of hardware at a time, software, all that, and adding skills as we go.
Mad skills.
So, Mr. Boyer,
Mr. Best.
you wanna regale us with tales of what we're gonna talk about tonight, and kiss the mic while you do it, my friend. Kiss the mic.
I would like French kiss it, but I don't feel like doing that.
No, that's one of the things I've learned. Like,
Not to French kiss the mic. Okay.
no, but these particular
experience?
microphones are very, I don't know what the right word is, directional. Like, you got to be like right up on it, so you get good quality. And with the extra pop filter, those of you who are into podcasting or audio engineering, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, it takes out the P's and et cetera relatively well. Anyway, hey, we're here to talk about... What are we here to talk about, man?
Dun, dun, dun. Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. Why? Because this month is video game theme month.
That is correct.
So, those of you who are huge Sonic fans already know this, but those of you who don't will probably be highly surprised to know that Sonic the Hedgehog is the longest running video game comic book adaptation ever. And I'm talking about the Archie comics. There's been tons of Sonic comics. Well, at least, there's been quite a few titles by 3 different publishers. But we're mostly talking about the Archie comic, starting with the miniseries and ending just under the belt of 300. That's right, issue 300. Didn't quite make it.
Yeah, and just to name a few of those that you were talking about, and I think most of them were offshoots of this one, correct?
Right, yeah, most of them were. The new Sonic the Hedgehog by IDW and Sonic the Comic by Fleetway in the UK were not by Archie, but all the other offshoots were Archie. Except
for Sonic Adventures by La Sirene in France.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that existed.
Just 1 year, apparently. According to Wikipedia, anyway.
Huh. Well, I learned something. Sonic the Comic Online, by the way, that's a fan comic. I'm seeing that on Wikipedia.
Okay. Never mind then.
Oh, and I forgot there was a manga. Yeah, there's a few different Sonic comics that I forgot about.
Yeah, so we had a Knuckles the Echidna offshoot from 97 to 2000.
Yep.
Sonic X from 2005 to 2009, which I think also had a TV show attached to it, correct?
That's right. That's Archie adaptation of the anime.
Nice.
So, my earliest memory of Sonic the Hedgehog, the comic book by Archie, is... I can't remember which issue it was. It might have been issue 13, 15, I forget. That Island Hedgehog that introduces Knuckles the Echidna. Now, did you ever read this comic growing up, Richard?
I did not. I didn't read a lot of comics growing up. I think I've talked about that before here. Like, the only comics I really remember, obviously the comic strips in the newspaper. That's probably what I read the most of. And then I would get the... I don't know what the word is for when it's a collection of comic strips. Trade paperback, is that the right term when it's the strips that are collected?
I mean, you could definitely call it a trade paperback. I think it's called a collection.
Makes sense.
Or a collected volume.
But yeah, I checked out quite a few of the Garfield collections over the years. I think some Calvin and Hobbes.
Beautiful.
But in terms of like legit comic books, I remember some Scrooge McDuck or like DuckTales related, I think, and like Disney related. And there was this one time though that my grandmother bought me a Batman comic, at the, I think it was at a convenience store or something, and my parents made her take it back because this was right around the time it was starting to get a little more violent. It was like
Oh.
late 80s, post Frank Miller. I don't know if Renaissance is the right word, but yeah, it was getting for a little bit older audience, I think. And not to say that there wasn't ever any violence in the earlier decades, but yeah, I think it took a turn in a little bit more serious direction around that time. So yeah, this one probably had some blood and stuff in it, and I think maybe 5 or 6. So yeah, they're like, yeah, no, take that back, Grandma. And she didn't know. I probably saw it, and I knew who Batman was. I had like Batman toys and stuff, and I was like, oh, Batman, and she got it for me. Because grandmas, they want to spoil their kids, right? So
Yeah, that that reminds me of some stories that are neither here nor there. But anyway,
are they somewhere though?
yeah, they're somewhere.
They're somewhere. They're not here. They're not there, but they're somewhere.
Poor grandma. I had this English teacher, completely off topic, but this will make for a fun little story. I had this English teacher at Christian private school that told us about this website that blocked the bad stuff on the internet. And I went to that website. I wrote it down, went to that website, and it was a bad stuff website. So that backfired.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like we're masking ourselves as a filter to get gullible people into looking
I guess so.
at the schmut that we wish to put out.
Well,
I don't know why that went German all of a sudden.
Well, Grandma didn't make quite the same mistake, but
No. Yeah. So, apologies, folks. I've had a cold the last few days, and it's kind of hanging on. So you might hear a bit of my voice, and you'll hear some coughs every now and then. So apologies ahead of time.
And if I get a cold next podcast, you'll know why.
Exactly. Yeah, we gave him. What did we give you? We gave you some kind of stomach virus, I think, a few weeks back.
Yeah, I assume I got it here. Who knows?
I'm pretty sure you did because my daughter I think was sick, like right around that time that you came, and that makes sense. But you never know. These things, they have a tendency to get around, as anyone who went through COVID, which all of us did, I guess, knows. Not that I didn't know that beforehand, but we are more viscerally aware of it as a species, I guess. Like, it's probably not too many people around the planet who had any kind of connection to technology or the internet who didn't hear about COVID. I'm sure there's like some bushmen in the Amazon somewhere that are like, COVID? What's that?
Yep.
It's like,
The most protected people in the world are the people who have no contact.
I'm just trying not to get
With
eaten by
anyone
a
else.
jaguar. A jaguar. I don't know if jaguars live in South America. Don't quote me on that. Sorry.
Do they, though?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
I
Seems like
don't know
somewhere
where
they
they
would live, but I'm probably wrong. So I see here you got a lot of notes.
Yeah, I got a lot of notes.
I'd recommend holding them up. By the way, that mic is very directionally sensitive. So yeah.
So I just kind of wrote my thoughts out. I'm not sure I'm actually going to go by these notes, but it was enough to convince me that I remembered enough about this for this podcast tonight. So I wanted to talk about the different comics that were the different Sonic comics adaptations from the 90s. But before we can do that, we have to talk about the source material. And yes, that is the video games, but it's more than the video games. Deke was licensed to do 3 Sonic cartoons. The first and best and most well-known of those would be the comedic Adventures of Sonic and the more serious Sonic the Hedgehog, known as Sonic Sat-Am, or Saturday AM by its fans. And these are the 2 comics that the Archie comic is based on. It took the premise of the second cartoon, the more serious one, but then gave it the comedic tone of the first one. Sonic Archie comics does eventually get more serious, but it's not until so many years in. By issue 50, they actually straight up kill Robotnik. Spoiler alert.
Oh, dang.
But
So question, like, Are Robotnik and Dr. Eggman the same person, or are they different?
It depends on the continuity. In the video games, yes, they are the same person. In Archie the Sonic comics, boy, I have a story for you.
By the way, side note, I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry. There must be some hardcore Sonic comic fans because there's a lot of info on here. Like they've got looks like a comprehensive list of the characters, which I know there were like maybe it's not comprehensive, but there's a lot on here. I know there's like hundreds of different characters over the course of
Hundreds.
24 years, right? That this ran for Archie.
Oh yeah, and I couldn't tell you how many of them went with Ken Penders after the lawsuit.
Yeah, no, I read it. I read about that. So there was some kind of lawsuit. Is that part of what led to the relationship with Archie ending, or is that
Absolutely.
disconnected? It is. Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Losing, we're jumping ahead quite a bit, but since we're on the topic, losing the contract that Ken Penders signed that said that everything that he created while at this job in this comic belonged to Archie and to Sega. Ultimately, they lost that contract, and that was the basis of Ken Penders suing Archie for control of everything he created.
Ooh. Wait, they just lost the document?
Yep, they lost the contract.
That sucks.
And so Ken Penders was like, contract? What contract?
He's like, so give me control because I want more money.
So Ken Penders unfortunately did win the lawsuit, which forced the Archie staff under new writer Ian Flynn to reboot the comic, to do a kind of a soft hard reboot. Soft hard, what's that? I don't know. Anyway,
Medium soft.
yeah, medium
Just like
soft.
the toothbrush.
It continued. The Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie with how Spock goes back in time and then the planet Vulcan gets blown up. It's like that.
Okay.
It's an in continuity reboot where all the characters are like, I can't believe all those characters were erased from history. And our memory of them is slowly fading as we acclimate to this new universe. That's pretty much how it was. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, so let's rewind. I forget what you were talking about before we got off on that tangent, but I know you were in general talking about your experience with the comics, what it was based on, and did you? Obviously, I'm assuming you played the video game before you started reading these comics. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah. I think my first
Video games, plural, I guess.
my first interaction with Sonic the Hedgehog was the first two Deke cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
So that made
before the games.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. Actually, it was.
That's cool. Or
So
I guess. Well, I don't know if that's cool or not, but that's interesting.
I would wake up every morning to watch Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog before school, and then on Saturday mornings I would get up to watch Sonic the Hedgehog, the more serious one.
Yeah,
What
that's
was
the good
that,
one.
CBS? I can't remember. I think it was CBS.
I'm not sure. I want to say ABC.
It's one of
But,
the
like,
one of
my
the three
s-
letters.
My sister Sandra and I watched both of those back in the day, and yeah, I definitely preferred the more serious one. Like, 'cause I think at that point, see, I would have been 11 or 12, somewhere in there. So I was at that age where I'm like, I'm done with this kid stuff. I want serious things. But it was just more interesting too. Like the other one was definitely silly, and I guess it was geared towards a younger audience.
Oh yeah, I mean I absolutely love both, but there was something really cool about the Sat Am one.
Yeah, it felt, well, the stakes were higher for one, I guess. Like you have the freedom fighters are in that, right?
Right.
And you have them, but yeah, just the overall tone of the series too. I remember it was darker, and I think more episodes took place at night too. Like they would go on runs into the city to try and fight for freedom, I guess. Yeah, I just remember really liking it, and had some good protagonists in it. You know, like Sally. I always remember Sally. She was, I think, my favorite character outside of Sonic himself, obviously.
Oh, definitely. I also love Bonnie. I also love Bunny Rabbit.
Yeah, the cyborg.
Yeah.
Now is she in the comics?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Sally too.
Oh, Sally, definitely. And I mean, in the 24 years that this comic ran, by the way, Richard had to correct me earlier. I was just saying 3 decades. Apparently, it was 24 years. But in the
I mean, I
24,
guess let's see. It did appear in 3 different decades. So, but yeah, but not 3. Yeah. Anyway.
right. Apparently, it ran for 24 years, and the characters from the cartoon all star in it, and they all evolve and change over time. Sally Acorn gets married at least 3 times in the run of the comic.
Say what? Was
Yeah,
it
I
at least
know.
one of them to Sonic?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. 'Cause that needed to happen.
I take it back. She got married 4 times.
4 times. Wow.
But
Elizabeth Taylor of the comics, of the comic book world. Sally.
one of them doesn't count because it was virtual reality like the Matrix, but she didn't know it was virtual reality, so it does count.
Yeah. Intent matters, my friends.
Yeah.
Intent matters. It's
The-
not always true that what you do in the Matrix stays in the Matrix.
But once they escaped, the marriage was annulled due to the fact that they were in a virtual reality world. But and that would be to Antoine Ducoulette, who she married
yes,
twice.
Antoine. I remember Antoine, at least from the TV series. She got married to him
Twice.
Was it a political alliance of some type?
In the virtual reality world, Antoine learned how to control the Matrix like Neo and swapped himself out for Sonic, who was actually going to marry Princess Sally.
Dang, he was married to Bunny first. Is that in the series or the?
Well, Anton Ducoulette actually does marry Bunny. That's the permanent wife. It's really complicated.
What, comic books being complicated?
I know.
Multiple continuities? I've never heard of that
You
before.
would think that Sonic the Hedgehog wouldn't be this complicated with marriages and annulments, but it is.
Well, I mean, you got to keep it interesting for 24 years, you know.
I know. And the fan base are all growing up.
Oh, dang. So I'm looking at these names that's bringing back memories. Rotor the Walrus, Nicole. Oh, man. Yeah, let's see. Amy Rose. Oh, yeah, Amy Rose was annoying. I do remember that. I don't remember some of these others, like Uncle Chuck.
You don't remember Uncle Chuck?
Actually, no, dude. Never mind. I do remember Uncle Chuck, but not Cream the Rabbit. That doesn't sound familiar.
No, she's new. She's from the video games.
Okay.
She first appeared during the Sonic Advance games in the late 90s, early 2000s. I forget when Sonic Advance first came to the Game Boy Advance. But it was definitely after the Dreamcast died.
So was there quite a bit, like over the years, as different Sonic properties came out on Sega consoles, and then now they don't come out on Sega anymore, and they come out, I guess, primarily on Nintendo now?
Yeah, Nintendo, PC. Sonic titles generally come out on all the platforms these days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I've got a collection. Actually, these are a collection of the old Sega Genesis titles, but it's for a Sony PlayStation 2,
Cool.
which I still have and play occasionally.
I actually didn't know they had a PS2 Genesis
it's
collection.
Like the Sonic Mega Collection.
Yeah.
It's called. Yeah.
I mean, that's on everything. You can even get the Genesis Mega Collection on Switch now.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I think anyway. Maybe I'm confused.
I mean, if I was Sega, I would want to, unless I just got a really sweet deal with one of the console manufacturers, I would want to get on as many as I could, because they're not making their own consoles anymore. So.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you can play the Genesis games, emulate them on the Switch with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion. But
Yeah, by the way, if you guys need to know how to do that, video game hacks, Will here knows how to do it.
oh, I was talking about completely legal.
Completely legal hacks.
Yes.
Legal hacks. Anyway, sorry. So
I may have hacked my Super Nintendo Mini, but that's neither here nor there.
And I have a Nintendo Mini. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but yeah, I haven't played it a whole lot, because like the only time I can really play it without my kids climbing all over me is at night. and then I'm like exhausted, or doing this or hanging out with friends, and I just don't get around to it too much. I need to make some time for that. Like some, you and I should play. I
I
have two
know.
controllers
That
because
would be
you
great.
bought me one, so we should totally play some Mario and Sonic and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that would be great. Like you, not exactly like you. I don't have kids, but I just can't find time to play games until the missus goes to sleep, and I'm like, I'm free. I'm free. I'm kidding. I'm gonna be in so much trouble if my wife listens to this. But yeah, I just love to spend time with her. That's all,
Hey, that's
and
good.
I don't want to be off playing video games instead of spending time with her.
Yeah, like unless you guys are playing together, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's really into Animal Crossing. But anyway, we're getting really off topic.
Yeah. Let's get back to comics here. This is supposed to be our comic book episode, so.
Yeah. So we love Sega. We love Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
This is the comic
Yeah, we both had
based
one
on it.
growing up. By the way, before we jump back into comics, a plug for a past episode. My opinion, one of our most fun episodes. I went back and listened to it a while back. Well, we did one on retro video games, 80s and 90s. So take a listen to that if you guys haven't
Cool.
already. So, but continue, sir. Let's get back to the comics.
Yeah. Evil Antoine from the Evil Dimension married Sally once. The real Antoine married Sally in the virtual reality world in issue number 16, Hedgehog Under Glass.
I can't help but think of Stefan and Urkel right now.
Then
My brain made connections.
Sonic marries Sally twice in two different alternate timelines, futures, and Shadow the Hedgehog marries Sally in one alternate timeline
Wow.
because darn time
Oh, so
travel.
it's not the same Sally in every marrying all these people in sequence.
Well,
Like she got married and got divorced and got married and got divorced.
not in the future timelines. The Archie comics generally called those Mobius 25 years later, or Mobius 10 years later, or Mobius 30 years later, or something crazy like that. They would show all the characters grown up, married with their own children, and their children would be the new heroes or something.
By the way, for the uninitiated, what is Mobius?
Oh, that's in the Archie comics, similar to the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog, the Sat-Am cartoon. They live on the planet Mobius. They do not live on Earth.
So it's a planet.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, but I needed a refresher, and I know that some people won't know what that is.
So, so this comic is complicated. It's 24 years of complicated writing, sometimes complicated. Anyway, so you asked me earlier, we're jumping around, but you asked me earlier, is Robotnik and Eggman the same character? Well, they are in the video games. In the video games, Robotnik's nickname that Sonic gives him is Eggman. And in the instruction manuals, he's known as Eggman in Japan and Robotnik in America. So this was just to simplify and streamline the continuity. But in the Archie comics, they had to be difficult. In issue number 50, right after Sonic murders Sally the Hedgehog, I mean, not Sally the Hedgehog, Sally Acorn. I'm getting all confused. Yes, comic is complicated. Sonic went on trial and everything, and went to the Devil's Gulag, a prison, and he escaped. And it turns out Sonic did not murder Sally. It turns out Sally never died. I think Sega found out and was like, "You have to unkill Sally now. We don't like this."
And did she ever make an appearance in the video games?
One Sonic Spinball.
Okay. That sounds familiar.
So Sonic's name does get cleared. It was somebody else disguised as Sonic that killed Sally, but so Sonic and Robotnik finally have their confrontation in issue 50 in-game, in which Robotnik is annihilated by the Ultimate Annihilator weapon. And after 2 years in the real world of comics with no Robotnik, no main protagonist except for the wizard Ixis Naugus and a few villains of the week, finally Robotnik comes back. But this time it's a Robo-Robotnik from an alternate dimension who killed his own Sonic and enslaved the planet. And now he's decided to go somewhere else because he's bored and he wants to take over a new planet. And this Robotnik is destroyed by Sonic and the gang and then reactivates himself by downloading himself into a new robot body called the Eggman.
Oh.
So that's a complicated backstory for the RT Eggman.
That happened in the TV series too, didn't it? That sounds really familiar to me.
I don't think so, but if it did,
either that or
I'm
made
confused.
an appearance in a game at some point. It just sounds really familiar, and I've not read any of the comics, but yeah, that sounds familiar. I think we saw most, if not all, of the TV series, the Saddam.
I've got that issue right here in this trade paperback.
We can go to the source. I like how small they are. That's kind of different, nice and different.
Yeah, I have a lot of these issues, but see, if you see here, he selects one of these robot bodies to activate. We've got different designs of different Robotniks, and then he chooses this one, which is actually found in the. Is that where the camera is? The camera's over there.
iPad over there.
Okay.
So hey. Yeah. So YouTubers, or not YouTubers, but people watching this on YouTube later. What's up? So anyway, you'll be able to see the pictures here.
Oh, I see.
This is the Archives Volume 20, for those who are interested.
But
Issues 75 to 78. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the issue numbers memorized, but if that's what the back of the book says, I trust it. But
in a secret sub-base... Sorry, I can't help but read this.
Oh, go
in
ahead.
A secret sub-basement located 1/2 mile beneath the now-abandoned corridors of Castle Acorn, an assortment of robotic bodies lie dormant, each of them waiting to be filled with the spark of life. No. There's a lot of ha. Nice. So did any of these other robotic bodies make appearances at later dates?
Nope.
Nope, just this one.
Just that one. It would have been interesting had they followed up with that continuity. So we're jumping all around the place. I guess we should jump back to the beginning. In the beginning, the Sonic the Archie comics was more episode of the week. It wasn't an ongoing story. I mean, it was, but the only ongoing story was that these are the Freedom Fighters and they're fighting Robotnik. That was it. There was no overall story arc. And the stories were bright, colorful, and funny. They were humorous. They weren't like Sonic Saddam. I think that started changing maybe around the Metal Sonic or Mecha Sonic introduction. I'm not sure, but it definitely changed by the time that I think the artist was Spazzy but by the time that Knuckles.
Oh, here we go. Patrick Spaziante. Yeah, you had that right. Oh, there's someone with my last name here, Dawn Best.
I actually didn't know that.
Dawn Marie Best Eshelman. Hey, Dawn Marie, if you're out there and you hear this, hit us up. We'll do an interview.
I would honestly love to do an interview with any of these guys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun.
Tracy Yardley, I play Pokemon Go with him.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
But I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I do, but we just swaps gift baskets back and forth. That's it.
That's cool. Is this one of the guys you met at a comic book convention?
I think I met him once. I've definitely met Matt Herms. I've met John Gray. I've met Jim Mosh. I've met Ian Flynn. Um, I may have met one or two other people. I can't remember. But anyway, my brain. I'm trying to get on some sort of like.
Oh yeah, talking. So you were going back and talking about some of the storyline. We talked some about Robotnik and his
Oh yeah,
robotic body.
yeah. There was this when it started getting more serious. There was this story where Sonic and Knuckles got roboticized. Do you know? You know what that is, right? That's when they get turned into cyborgs.
That sounds familiar. And that you said that is in the video. That is it Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I think. Well, Knuckles comes later, obviously, but
In number 3.
is it 3? Okay, 3. Yeah, it sounded familiar. Like it's been a while since I played the games, but I did play them a lot back in the 90s. But it's been a bit.
Well, yeah, there's a special, an annual special or something like that called Mecha Madness, in which Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic finally gets captured by Robotnik and turned into a robot, and the heroes actually have to roboticize Knuckles just to fight Sonic. So that was pretty cool. That was actually a really cool issue. I remember ordering that one from the back issues as well as Super Sonic versus Hyper Knuckles. But I really love this comic. Even though some of the writing actually was starting to get bad. I mean, that's just an opinion. I didn't notice it as a kid. I really didn't. I did notice that I didn't like the sort of Acorn story plot. I didn't like them. I didn't even like it when Sonic Sat put in magic and dinosaurs. I just wanted something more akin to the video games. I wanted nature versus technology. Well, there was magic in the games because of the Chaos Emeralds, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
but there wasn't sorcerers and Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like some of the Archie comics and definitely Sat leaned into that, and that was weird for me. I found that weird. But the bad writing I'm talking about is, and I did not notice this as a kid. I just recently realized this looking at other people's reviews of this series. But anyway, so I'm just acknowledging that. I'm not, but you know, because I'm not trying to say this is the most amazing comic I've ever read. It's not. I was a kid. I loved it because it was Sonic in the story. So I followed along with the entire comic more or less up until. Hold on. Okay, funny story. I don't breathe when I talk, so I had to come up for air. I also don't breathe when I eat. When I was a kid, people made fun of me because I was afraid to go out in the rain because I thought I would drown. That's also why I didn't shower until I was older.
Which, ironically, you're much more likely to drown in a bathtub
I know.
and then being showered.
People would nickname me Turkey.
Turkey, really?
Because turkeys drown in the rain because they just put their heads up to the sky and open their mouths until they drown.
Well, that's dumb. Nature, you should have done a better job.
But
I'm surprised they've survived as long as they have.
I guess I'm trying not to breathe into the mic. I just need to take a breath. I'm talking too much. But what I'm trying to say is I followed this comic up until the Sonic Adventure era. Sonic Adventure 2 era really is where I stopped reading it. It's just that this is the era where the video game started having these really their own plots, and then I would notice that the Sonic Archie comics were just written into a corner because their universes were completely different than the video game universe, and that didn't matter in the past because you were just a blue ball running right on the screen, jumping up and down. It wasn't plot heavy. So the Sonic Archie comics could do whatever they wanted. The writers could do whatever they wanted. Uh,
Now, did that start to get like? I think the newest Sonic game that I have played is Sonic Unleashed, which I know came out quite a while ago.
quite a
But
while,
that's like
like
the
10 or so
newest
years.
the newest series, the newest of the series that I have played. I was trying to remember if it had plot or even cutscenes. I can't
Oh,
recall.
Sonic Unleashed. Oh, definitely.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Well, it's probably been over 10 years since I played it. I remember we got it around the time it came out. I want to say on PS2, I think,
Cool. And after
or rented it maybe.
I think it was after the reboot. Ian Flynn, and I don't know if there were any other writers. I just know Ian Flynn is like the head writer of the Archie comics after Penders left. He did bring in Sonic Unleashed characters, including Sonic as the Hedgehog. And I really enjoyed those stories. There was a time between Sonic Adventure 2 when I just got tired of the weird Archie canon, the weird Archie continuity trying to somehow fit the Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 continuity into the series. I mean, they decided that Station Square was in South America or something somewhere, and that it was just some hidden human city that Sonic and his pals didn't know existed or something.
Wakanda. No.
Yeah. Because up until this point, Robotnik and his nephew Snively were the only humans. And they did explain that. They were called Overlanders, and they came from an Overlander town or city, and the Overlanders were fighting against the funny animal characters, the anthropomorphics. So looking back, it's not really that bad or weird, but I just didn't, as a kid, I guess I just didn't fully understand the continuity that was set up in the Archie series yet. And I just found it so weird and jarring because in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, they lived on Earth, and it was just Sonic and friends on Earth. I mean, it was just really simple. But the Archie comics had this weird, complicated continuity. They had to try to explain how these game plots could somehow exist in the same world. So I stopped, for one reason or another, I stopped reading for a while. I mean, I definitely didn't enjoy. They brought in this yellow. I don't even know what animal she is. This yellow character, and it was a girl, and Sonic and Tails were going to high school now, and yeah, if you scroll down, I'm sure I can probably pick out the character if I see the name, but anyway, she had speed power. Mina Mongoose, that's it. Mina Mongoose, that was the character. And they changed the art style. It was more manga in art. And I just didn't like the art style. I didn't like where they were going with the plot. I didn't like the spider ninja laying all the eggs. I didn't like the romance drama. Sonic dating Mina, Sonic dating Sally. I don't know what was going on. Anyway, so I stopped reading it for a good while, but I came back later when Ian Flynn was writing, and I really enjoyed how Ian Flynn was reshaping the comic to make it look more like the video game world.
So I was going to ask you about this timeline at some point, but so she apparently marries Tails later in the Mobius 10 years later timeline.
I forgot about that.
Has two kids named Melody and Sky, which apparently in the same timeline, according to Wikipedia entry here, Sonic marries Sally and has two kids. Manic and what was the other
Yes,
name?
Manic and
Sonia,
which are also the names of Sonic's brother and sister from Sonic Underground, which is completely unrelated to the Archie Sonic comic.
Anyway, side note. Let's see.
I mean, I'm trying to go talk about this in some sort of chronological order,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's just so much to go over. I mean, it would take forever to be exhaustive about this material.
Oh man, yeah. Just scrolling down through here is like there's a lot of info.
Just going over my notes right quick.
Yeah, I see here there on the Wikipedia. There's like 141 references, most of them by Ian Flynn. I guess. Well, a lot of these are actual issues of the comic, so that's why it shows so many. But Snively.
We could talk about the Sonic multi.
Oh, I remember Snively now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture just came back to my mind. Snively. Didn't he talk like this? It's like Dr. Robotnik or something like that.
Yes.
Snively. Dr. Robotnik, Sonic is here.
Speaking of the cartoon, I love Jim Cummings. I love Jim Cummings in almost everything he does, but
that dude
I
is
love him as Robotnik.
prolific. He's in so many animated things. Like, you watch a cartoon, he's probably done a voice in it at some point. Like, if it's a series that had a run, he's probably done a voice in there somewhere.
Yeah. Just looking at this character list, I hate Jeffrey St. John. I think everybody does. He's the really obnoxious skunk soldier.
Jeffrey St.
And
John.
Robbo Hedge, I don't like Robbo Hedge. I mean, it's a fine character, but he all he does is a color swap Sonic with a bow and arrow.
What about Rouge the Bat? I'm just randomly pulling a name here.
No, I like her.
A bat who works as a secret agent for the United Federation and is a jewel thief. She is a member of Team Dark, while good in nature has had run-ins and allegiances to several antagonists such as Dr. Eggman. Flirtatious and cunning, Rouge maintains a love-hate relationship with Knuckles, but has also shown close bond to Shadow and E123 Omega.
Rouge the Bat's from the video game Sonic Adventure 2. She actually has some... She's an interesting character is what I'm trying to say.
Cool.
Even though recent cartoons, the recent Sonic cartoon on Netflix had to give her more clothing.
So here's a tangent. Shows that have anthropomorphic animals. Creators, I love you guys, but like, make up your mind about whether they're going to be nude or not nude or half nude. There's no rhyme or reason. It's like you'll have a show where the character like 4 of the characters are wearing no clothes but shoes for some reason. Then another character is wearing just a shirt, and then other characters are like full clothing. Like what's going on? Like, do some of these people just come from nudist colonies? Like, what's the reasoning? It's like, figure that out. Sorry, that's a pet peeve.
Well, in the Sonic universe, except for the Deke cartoon and the Archie comics, females in the video games always wear clothing.
Really?
Yeah, that's the basic rule of the games: is females wear clothing, males don't.
Huh. Well, I know in the TV series, like I'm thinking of like all Sally wears is a vest and boots, if memory serves me, and then Bunny. I'm trying to remember. I don't think Bunny wears anything much.
Oh well, yeah, she wears a shirt.
Shirt, okay.
And
Sonic, obviously, nothing but shoes.
Yeah, which Bunny's shirt tucks into her robot pants or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But but the video games, the females wear clothes. Rouge the Bat is definitely a character that needs to wear her clothes because there's a lot of sex appeal there.
And somehow they made a bat sexy, huh?
Don't search her an image search on Google with the safety off.
Okay. Too much fan art.
Probably.
Okay,
I would assume.
Okay. We'll avoid that then. Anyway, sorry. I think I Since you're the expert on this, I'm kind of doing you, where I'm like distracting you and like pulling us off on
You're
tangents.
right. I do that a lot.
No, but that's part of what makes our show fun. I think. At least I hope it makes it fun. Hopefully makes it fun for us. I think. Right?
It does.
Yeah.
I'm. Do you get frustrated when I do that? Like I get frustrated when you do it to me?
I get frustrated when you say frustrated. No.
Well, it's probably just because it's late and I'm tired. But
No, I'm kidding. Um,
you have any other questions that I
hmm.
can surprise you with by something weird this comic just throws out of left field?
So I'm reading here a little bit about Sonic. So he's the son of Jules and Bernadette Hedgehog, who were both roboticized.
Right.
Are there issues that deal with him? Like, does he ever manage to unroboticize him? Because I know that was like a thing in the animated series, like the SatAM. Some people could get de-roboticized, rescued, so to speak. Do they ever get de-roboticized? Is he able to have a relationship with them after they were roboticized? Like, do you
Yes.
remember?
Yes. Absolutely. It was. I think it was right before. No, it was right after. I think it was after they finally offed Robotnik that Sonic found out his parents were still alive but were roboticized. After Robotnik was defeated, all the Robians, as they're called, the roboticized Mobians, regained their uh, their
Free will?
their free will. Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I feel
Um,
like they dealt with that in this series too.
I know that Power Rings or something was able to reverse Uncle
Mm.
Chuck and give him his free will for
Oh
brief
yeah.
periods in the cartoon. Anyway, yeah, Sonic was really upset at his Uncle Chuck for keeping his parents still being alive a secret, but his parents actually did not want their son Sonic to see them in that state. They wanted to find a way to be de-roboticized before they entered Sonic's life again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the writer's way of introducing, oh hey, Sonic's parents are still alive. Surprise. And just
Mm.
trying to come up with a way to explain why we didn't know until now. Sonic does come to have a relationship with his parents. It's just difficult at first, being still robots. Um, speaking of Sonic and his parents, in the Archie comics, Sonic's real name is Maurice.
Marie.
Yep. Sonic is
uh,
actually his nickname.
Maurice. Maurice. LeFou, I'm afraid I've been thinking. A dangerous pastime. I know. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Was that Little Mermaid?
No, close. Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay. Okay.
LeFou, I'm afraid I've got that movie. That was actually the very first movie I owned, that I ever owned, like for myself. I think I was 8 years old. 8 years old? 8 or 9. And my grandmother bought it for me for Christmas. So that was my very first VHS that I personally owned. And I think my parents bought me the soundtrack that same Christmas, which I still have somewhere. I still have it, which is cool. I don't have VHS actually might be at my dad's house, sitting somewhere. But yes, I actually do really enjoy the animated film. The live action, which came out recently, was okay. It was okay.
Oh, okay.
Emma
I
Watson
saw it.
does a decent job. Love me some Josh Gad as LeFou. I mean, Josh Gad is just great. He plays Olaf and LeFou, and he's in the Book of Mormon. Apparently, that was anyway. So this is So that's something. Sorry. I'm getting off on yet another tangent, but like the very beginning of our podcast, when it was just me, at the very beginning, a solo shot, I talked about my love for Broadway and Broadway music and films. That's something we haven't done an episode on yet. I don't think that's something you're. Do you like Broadway at all? We've never talked about this actually.
No, I'm not very
Musical,
familiar with.
movie musical. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the Disney ones, but like,
I don't think I'm too familiar. I mean, I would love to see Beetlejuice or the
oh yeah, that is.
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Oh yeah, the one that failed because like people got hurt, I think, or something.
Did they get hurt? I
Wait,
didn't hear about
maybe I'm
that.
thinking about different ones. There was one. There was a Sonic Broadway, or not Sonic, a Spider-Man Broadway show that died out because some people got injured during productions.
I
Um,
assume it to be the same one.
anyway, so very tangent. Yeah, that's what happens when I follow my brain.
So here's something fun about this comic. Did you know Knuckles in the Archie comics, Knuckles the Echidna? I can't remember how it happens right now. I don't know if he absorbs the Master Emerald or what happens, but he turns all green. He actually dies, and he gets resurrected. He becomes a Messiah figure.
Do they build a religion around him as well?
I think so. Not that Sonic would stoop to the level of worshiping his best rival. Of course not.
So Knuckles the Echidna becomes a dying and rising god.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting.
That would be a story to revisit.
Was it tied to the agricultural cycle?
The agricultural cycle.
Sorry, that is a anthropology. Yeah, I like anthropology and I like ancient anthropology, and that was very nerdy comment. So some of you might get it. I don't know. Yeah.
Here's another random tidbit. Strangely, in this continuity, Uncle Chuck, Sonic's uncle, is the one who invents the roboticizer. Dr. Robotnik just takes advantage of it.
Oh yeah.
Being that his last name is Robotnik, I find this to be some sort of strange oversight.
I think I remember that because that was in the. I believe that was in the animated series as well, right? The continuity there. That sounds really familiar. Like Uncle Chuck being involved in the invention.
Probably. I
So
don't remember who created that bit of lore.
So was there over the years, like, was there a good bit of interplay between like the writing for the TV series and the video games and the comic book? I know you've talked some about that. How there was maybe some attempt to keep some continuity between them, but maybe it was more on the lines of like, hey, we got some ideas, or a new character got introduced because it was in the game, or vice versa.
I would say no. What happened is that the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comic, they started making it while Sat-Am was in development still. So by the time Sat-Am actually made it to TV screens, it was noticeably darker and more serious than the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comic. And the two continuities were based on the same series Bible, but went their separate ways.
Okay. Okay.
And they could do whatever they wanted. Eventually, they did introduce Dulcie the Dragon into the Archie comics. But other than that, I mean, I think Ixis Nagas was in the Deke animated series, the wizard Ixis Nagas. They eventually put him into the Archie comic as well, but otherwise the two continuities are more or less separate.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, either that or it's kind of like you should just assume that. I think they assumed the kids had watched these episodes, and so they didn't necessarily have issues that introduced Dulcie, or I think they did have issues that introduced Ixis Nagas, but I think Dulcie just kind of appears out of nowhere in the Archie comic. So they probably were leaning on the readers having watched this episode of the cartoon series.
So I'm looking at some of the other characters here. I saw Jeffrey St. John that you mentioned earlier, a skunk who was a recurring member of the Freedom Fighters. Egotistical, self-righteous, and uncompromising. And
Yeah.
Ken Monkey Khan. Do you want to say anything more about Jeffrey St. John and your distaste for him?
Well, I think that the Wikipedia description accurately describes him: egotistical, self-righteous, and uncompromising. He basically hated Sonic and did everything in his power to fight against him.
He marries Hershey the cat.
And this is the old continuity, as Wikipedia says. This is a Ken Pendards character that went bye-bye. Speaking of Ken Pendards, after he won that lawsuit, he actually tried to do a comic book surrounding Julie Sue, one of his Echidna characters. He brought over Jeffrey St. John and all of the other characters that he won out of the lawsuit. That was over a decade ago, I think, and I don't think his comic went anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Fulop lawsuit. I don't even know what that is.
In 2016, after seeing the success of the Penders lawsuit, former Sonic editor Scott Fulop filed suits against Archie Comics and Sega, claiming that he had made 15 characters for the comic series and was owed 6 figures in royalties. He cited the Penders case as justification for his claims and gave nearly 1,000 examples of times Archie had allegedly wrongly used his characters or reprinted stories involving them.
Huh. Well, no wonder Sega took away the license from Archie and gave it to IDW.
Yeah. Looks like the suits were dismissed in the defendant's favor. According, I guess the judge found insufficient evidence for his claims. Okay, I see here what you're talking about. He would later, this is going back to Ken Penders, he would later turn the Mobius 25 Years Later continuation project into the Lara Sue Chronicles, a still in development graphic novel. Huh, so maybe it never got published? Depends on when this was written, I guess.
I don't really expect it to be published, to be honest.
Mm.
I mean, he might own the characters, but all of his Echidna characters still look like copy and paste Knuckles.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I have a bias. Probably best to leave that one alone.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, like when you work together with people for a long time and it goes south at the end. That's unfortunate. I mean, it sounds like it was going south for a while and then just reached a crisis point, I suppose, but yeah, it's still unfortunate. Well, hey, we're coming up close on an hour here. Not that we have a hard stop at an hour necessarily, but was hoping to kind of keep it to around that. In our final minutes here, is there anything more you want to say or share about this for you? Would it be fair to say this is a beloved comic book series for you?
It is. It's not, as nearly high quality as something like Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo, but I did grow up with this comic. As a matter of fact, I would go ahead and say that this is the comic I grew up with. This was... I did try following the real Ghostbusters comic a little bit, but I don't think... And the TMNT Adventures, just a little bit. But it would be this comic that I actually stuck with. So there's just a lot of nostalgia here for me, personally.
Yeah, so this one and Usagi and Jimbo are probably the two you own the most of. Would that be?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you have the whole series of Usagi, correct?
I do. I have issues, but I also have all the trade paperbacks. I don't have all the issues though. I've got I could have brought over. I've got a box here of Sonic Archie comic trade paperbacks and graphic novels. I didn't pull this out. This is the crossover with Mega Man.
Oh yeah, I saw that mentioned in the Wikipedia. That's cool.
But my train
Worlds
derailed.
collide.
I never got to read the actual Mega Man comic that Archie put out. Anyway, yeah, I really love this series. I imagine it got even better as the series continued, but unfortunately, as an adult, I didn't continue reading the series after Kim Penners left and Ian Flynn became head writer. I picked up a few issues here and there, uh, but yeah, didn't really couldn't really stick with it. Didn't have the money or the time.
No, I hear that. Like, I'll pick up some comics every now and then. I'll pick up a trade paperback every now and then, typically used. I have bought a few newer issues. Like I was getting into one of the newer Aliens series for a bit there. Like this is like Alien from the Ridley Scott film, and that I was getting a little bit into that, and I got a couple of like the Batman detective stories comics. But yeah, you got to have expendable income, I guess, like extra income to be able to invest in it heavily. So yeah, for me, it's just every now and then I'll pick up something that looks really interesting. Um, I do eventually. I definitely want to at some point get a really nice. I've seen the black and white version. This is another tangent, but of Batman: The Long Halloween. I would love to get that at some point. Um, yeah, but yeah, as you said, it takes money and obviously the time to read it too. But
Oh yeah,
the money probably the bigger of the two,
and
or the
I
time it takes to make the money to buy it, so that you can then take the time to read it. No.
that is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I think what I was trying to get at earlier before my mind derailed is that I brought a few trade paperbacks with me, but I've got an entire long box of Sonic the Hedgehog single issues, and I was not about to bring that over.
Yeah, no, trade paperbacks makes more sense. So a little easier just to pick up and sort through. Yeah, even if you got your issues all in order, still.
Oh yeah, I think I still have number 16 and upward. Hedgehog Under Glass. I didn't talk about that one. That was one of my favorite early comics, Sonic comics. It's no, I did talk about it. I'm sorry. I actually did reference it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but what happens in that story is that Robotnik pretty much puts Sonic and his pals into the Matrix. They think they defeated Robotnik. Sonic and Sally are about to get married, but then Antoine somehow figures out how to be Neo and swaps himself with Sonic, and so Sonic's all confused, and he realizes he's in virtual reality, and he busts out. But
I can't bend the spoon. I can't do it. So should I eat the cookie or not? I don't know.
as a kid, it was an epic story to me, but as an adult, the story doesn't really hold up because it's just a quick two-parter. They don't really get very detailed or in depth with it. So it's a missed opportunity in many ways, but I really enjoyed it as a kid.
Yeah, like honestly, I wish I had gotten more into comics as a kid. Like, I think we were talking about this earlier today when I got into junior high, high school. I got more into sports, which absolutely nothing wrong about that. Which, by the way, at some point, like probably when the NFL season picks back up, one of our bonus episodes might be about fantasy football, because that is a nerdy topic, but it's not in our normal milieu, as they say. But it is something I enjoy doing. And anyway, that's another side note. But no, I liked hearing about this topic because I obviously I played, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and Sonic and Knuckles quite a bit growing up. Sonic 3 in particular, I think it was my favorite of the original four. Although Sonic and Knuckles was so cool because you could go back through. Could you go back to all the way to the first one? I'm trying to remember, and play Knuckles, or is it just 2 and 3 that you could play Knuckles in?
It was just 2 and 3,
Just 2
but
and 3. That's still pretty. That's a really cool idea, though.
it is. On Android phones, Chris Whitehead did create a official port where you could play Knuckles and Tails in the original Sonic 1, though, and get
Nice.
all 7 Chaos Emeralds.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that was fun. Like, I think I never owned Sonic and Knuckles, but we rented it several times so that we could go back through, because we had my Sega Genesis came with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and then I bought 3 later when it came out. And so yeah, both of those got a lot of playtime at our house. So, but yeah, then my sisters and I, or I should say my sister Sandra and I, who were just a couple years apart, we watched both the Sonic series together over the years. Like in particular, we got into the SatM series and both really enjoyed that. And I think my youngest sister also did, but I want to say my sister Sandra even wrote some fan fiction, just kind of for herself, like for her own enjoyment. With that, I think they went even further into it than I did. Don't know if they've ever read the comics or not, but yeah, we shared that love for the SatM series and yeah, and then the games as well, obviously. So that this has been an enjoyable topic.
I've written some fan fiction and even a Sonic fan comic, web comic before, so I definitely no stranger to that.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up. Obviously, we certainly couldn't cover everything. 24 years of comics and hundreds of characters, so we just kind of hit the highlights, the things that came to Will's mind, which just things that have stuck for you through the years. And for next week, like for our anime feature, we're talking about either doing Sonic X, which was a Japanese anime, or perhaps Pokemon. We're discussing
Perhaps.
both options. So it's going to probably be one of those two for you guys for next week's episode. So keep an eye out on our Instagram. We'll probably announce that this coming Sunday as to what the next week's episode will be. But yeah, it'll be an anime of some sort. And this is video game month. We have decided, like when we decided to do the Super Mario Brothers film, we're like, you know what? Let's make this video game month. We did James Cameron month back in December, so this month is in honor of the Super Mario Brothers movie coming out, is video game month. So everything is connected somehow to video games, video game properties. So yeah,
Sounds good.
but yeah, quick reminder. Once again, we now offer a subscription service. So kind of excited about that. It's something I've contemplated doing for a while, and originally was thinking about waiting longer, but I'm like, you know what? Let's take a jump. And it's something I'm excited about because we're offering incentives, obviously, for subscription. You get 2 bonus episodes, one of which we recorded today. Actually, the very first one we recorded expressly for subscribers, and that is a instant review of the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's going to be releasing to our podcast profile within the next couple days here, but you'll only be able to view it because it's a video episode if you subscribe. So for just $2.99 a month, you get 2 bonus episodes and an invitation to join us for at least one Zoom hangout, where we just chill out. The beginnings of a nerdy community is our hopes for that. And additionally, we're gonna get a prize together for you guys, and we're aiming to have a new appropriately nerdy prize every month. And subscribers each month, and the more subscriber, like if you get in at the beginning, obviously your odds of getting a prize are much higher. So get in now while you can, because once we have a lot, like your odds will progressively go down a bit, because it'll be a randomized drawing for a prize each month for our subscribers. And excited about that too. Got some ideas for this month's, and yeah, we're working on that. So yeah, scroll down in the episode description here, and you should see a link to subscribe. If for some reason that link malfunctions, you can go to our Spotify for Podcasters profile. There's a link to that on our link tree, which you can find on our Instagram and I think on our YouTube as well. Like pretty much like any of our fan pages, you can see our link tree. So that has a link to our Spotify profile, and you can click on there and subscribe. And like I said, you'll get access not only to going forward 2 bonus episodes per month, but also all of our previous bonus episodes, which you have 5 total over the course of the series, and I have now made those subscriber only. So sorry guys, if you're not a subscriber, you can't listen to those anymore unless you subscribe. But I think it's worth it, because we're pretty cool, right? We're cool to hang out with. At least we think we are.
I think so.
We're just like hoping
Especially when we're
more
awake.
people discover that and join the community and then have fun. Kind of a personal creative note. I myself have drawn a lot of inspiration from the comedy duo Rhett and Link, which I know, Will, you're not too familiar with them, but they're someone I've kind of watched over the years. Good Mythical Morning, those of you who are familiar with their work, and then they have a Rhett and Link channel where they have music videos and various projects. And they have a podcast called Ear Biscuits, which shout out to them, where they just talk about what's going on in their life, but they also from time to time talk about their creative endeavors and how they feel about them, and how they feel about responses to their creative endeavors, techniques they've learned, over the years. And they're about 12 years into this now and doing very well for themselves. But there's a lot of really good ideas that they've had that have worked over the years. And so I'm kind of watching and learning and trying some of those things out. So hopefully they'll work for us. But yeah, starting small for now, getting subscriptions up and going, and hopefully have a website for you guys here soon too. We're aiming for that. So yeah, nerds, keep ears and eyes out for all those things. And like I said, next week we're either going to cover Sonic X or Pokemon. Those are 2 somewhat different things, but the general idea is an anime that was a video game that was inspired by a video game. Like the video game came first, and then there was an anime series later is the idea. So one of those 2, I think, is what we'll cover next week. Probably whichever one we can get the easiest access to
Probably.
for streaming. So I have a feeling it's going to be Sonic X, because I don't know if Pokemon's available with what we have. So it'll probably be Sonic X, but stay tuned to find out for sure. Nerds,
Nerds.
live long and prosper.
Sayonara.